Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BME Live. So, today we are doing another live stream session just to answer some of the questions that we've had in the comments. If you do join live, feel free to put any questions or comments in the chat. I'll definitely give priority to the people who join live. And before starting, it's always just a little disclaimer that I'm not super knowledgeable in every single topic regarding biomedical engineering. I just speak from experience, and if my experience can help you, I'm very happy to share it. So let's start off with the first question. And again, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, feel free to put them in the chat. So the first comment that I wanted to address is this one that says, I am a student from India. After I complete my studies, can I get a job in the US? It's my dream to work as a biomedical engineer in the US. You can definitely get a job in the US if you're, international. It definitely has its what's the right word? It's a little bit harder for I feel like international people to come work. I'm not too familiar with the requirements, unfortunately, because I am a U.S. citizen, so I don't have to do anything regarding like work visa or anything like that. So I'm not very familiar with the requirements, but I know it can definitely be done. I would love to have a guest sometime, maybe from India, because I know we have a lot of viewers from India or other places in the Middle East. And I know a couple of people that are originally from there and work in the US. So if anyone would be interested in learning what the requirements are to work in the US, if you're a foreigner, make sure to let me know just so I can, dedicate my efforts into that. So yes. Let's see. So that's one question. Let's look at the next question. I'm going to study BME, but I don't like maths at all. And I think I'm not smart in math. At the same time, I love anatomy, physiology, etc. Please tell me if I can do well in it. I'm so afraid. So, okay. I feel like I've said this a million times, maybe, but I mean, obviously not a million times, but several times. BME is not so heavy in math, like I assume other engineerings or I imagine other engineerings may be, but it still has a lot of math. At the end of the day, it is an engineering degree. You still have to take math courses. I mean, you're required to take at least up to Calculus 2, which is the hardest math class I ever took. So there is a lot of math, but just because someone's not good at it, it doesn't mean that you can't pass the class. I think if you put effort into it, like you can definitely do it. I don't think it's anything impossible. Like I don't think every single person who goes into calculus 2 was like a genius in math from the start, So if you feel like you are not as good as other people in math, don't let that discourage you. Like you mentioned, you like anatomy and physiology and all those other like science courses related to like biology. And at the end of the day, BME also has a lot of that. So, that could be your strength. And once you graduate and start working, depending on your position, you may or not use math ever again. Like I can tell you in my job, in my current job as a regulatory affairs consultant, I use zero math, like absolutely zero math. And in my previous job at a startup company, I used some math, but honestly, very basic math. But that's not to say that other positions might be using way more math than I do. So what I'm trying to say is, if you don't like math in BME, there can be a lot of positions for you that you won't use any math in. So don't let that discourage you. If you really want to be a BME and maybe do research, things like that, you probably won't use math that much. I mean, you may for like if you actually work in a wet lab environment and you're calculating solutions and counting cells and things like that, you'll definitely use a little bit of math, but nothing crazy. So I hope that helps. Okay. So next question is, I am in my final year of mechanical engineering. Can I do master in biomedical engineering, and will it be a good career? You can definitely master in BME if you're a mechanical engineering student. I think that's a great choice. There's definitely a lot of things you can do with it. So yes, I would go for it. I think that's a great choice. And by the way, we have oh, sorry, I just realized there's like people in the chat, but for some reason I'm not seeing it in my screen, which is it's a little hard for me to like switch to the other tab. But thank you all for joining. I just realized I do have some comments, so I'll look at them right now. But yeah, if you have any questions, make sure to put them in the chat. So in the chat, what I'm seeing right now, it says permanent work from home or remote jobs for biomedical engineers. Yes, I actually just right now work purely from home at a medical device consulting company. And I never thought as a BME I could work from home. But now that I do it, it makes sense. But it definitely depends on what you do, right? If you actually work hands-on with like equipment or like in a lab, you obviously can't do that from home. But I still think that even if you worked in a lab and you needed to do things with your hands, like you could probably still take a lot of work home. I know that's how it worked for a lot of people during the pandemic. But personally, I work right now in a company that's like 100% remote. It's always been like that even before the pandemic. So it can definitely be done, especially if you go into the regulatory affairs industry, which I think really encompasses what a biomedical engineering degree is. So let me know if you're interested in learning more about that. But I hope that answers your question. Thank you for asking. Okay, so next one is Ernestina Martinez, and that's actually my last name. She said, I just graduated with BME from UTSA and I'm having trouble finding a job. I guess I don't really know where to start looking. Any advice? Wow, so I'm also from UTSA. I'm not sure if you knew that, but let me ask you, did you do any internship experience, any research experience? If you didn't have an internship experience during college, it can be a little bit hard to find a job. And I mean, if you just graduated this May, don't get discouraged. Like there's still time. If I personally, what's it called? I personally had an internship experience. So as soon as I graduated, I kept working there, and eventually I found another job and changed jobs. But I mean, honestly, the best thing to do is network with people, reach out to maybe any upperclassmen that that could know of potential jobs. Actually, Ernestina, if you like to email me, I'm not sure if you're still here in the chat, but my email is mary at the BME Life. And if you like to email me with a little bit more about your profile and what you did during your undergrad, I might be able to help you. So just let me know. Feel free to email me and just say, hey, this is Ernestina, and I love to help any way I can. But yes, usually, having an internship experience helps a lot. It's really hard to find a job if you don't have any experience. I don't think it's impossible, but maybe you would have to settle down for other things in the meantime. Like, I don't think it would be a bad decision to like maybe get an internship before you start a job. But I mean, San Antonio has a good startup um, industry environment, and so do other nearby areas. But yeah, I think finding a job is very personalized because it depends on what you did and things like that, what you're interested. So let me know, email me and let me know your story, and hopefully I can help you out. Okay, so Daryl Simon. Hey Daryl, thanks for joining. Hey, would definitely like to learn more about your remote work. I should probably do a video, like just sorry, just looking at a comment that's not nice. So I'm just deleting. Sorry about that, but yes, I should dedicate a video to what I do, and I honestly have been really bad at making videos. Like, I have been doing a lot of lives, like podcasts with other people, but it's been a while since we actually posted a video, so we have to get back to that. But yeah, basically, I work as a consultant um, in regulatory affairs for medical device startups, which is usually, small medical device companies trying to develop a new medical device, and they want to market it, obviously. So we help them with the application process and how to get their device approved by the FDA. And there's a number of things that you have to take into consideration, like depending on the type of device, the class of the device, there's different regulatory pathways. The most common one is our class 2 devices, which usually follow a 510K pathway. So that's most of what we do. And in 510Ks, you're usually trying to find a device that's already marketed and cleared by the FDA that is similar to your product, so that you can kind of use it as what we call a predicate device that you back up your device with. You kind of say like, hey, my device is very similar to this. You do testing to prove that it complies with any applicable standards, or just to compare its performance to the predicate device. And overall, I mean, the different sections of a 510K include like electrical safety if you have an electrical medical device, software and cybersecurity if your device includes software, biocompatibility, performance testing, which includes things like, it's very unique to every device, but also things like shipping, accelerated aging, things like that. And then you have clinical studies sometimes animal studies. It really depends on the device. But yeah, that's a little bit of what I do. I hope that gives you a little bit more background, but I should definitely dedicate a video just to that because there's a lot to be said. But thanks, Daryl, for asking your question. It's great to have you here. Okay. So we got another question that says, hi, is it easy to get work visa sponsored in BME for international students in the US? I have no idea. Again, I'm sorry. I wish I could provide more input in this because I know we have a lot of international viewers, but I should definitely work on getting someone to answer these questions. So be on the lookout for that because I definitely want to do that. Okay. Thomas said, what is the most rewarding thing about your job as a biomedical engineer? At the moment, like I mentioned, I work as a consultant, which is very different from what you may be doing as a BME. Not everyone goes into consulting. But to me, the most rewarding thing is getting to work with different medical device companies, and these are all like, you know, entrepreneurs, like people that are innovators trying to do like new things in the market. And I think it's really cool, just getting to work with innovators and CEOs and things like that. Apart from that, getting to see these new medical technologies before they're even cleared in the market, I think is super cool. And yeah, I think just learning a little bit about all these different kinds of devices, like um, I don't focus in like one type of device, at least not yet. Like I have a little bit of knowledge like across the different disciplines. So I think that's pretty cool. I would definitely want to like specialize in the field eventually, but for now it's just really cool to, work with projects that are so different from each other. So that just gives me like a really good understanding of the medical device market and field, and I just think that's really cool. But yeah, just getting to work in all these technologies before they're even cleared is like super cool. Okay. Daryl said, "Hey Mary, what would you say is the best part of working with a startup?" I would say the best part of working with a startup is that you get to wear a lot of hats. Being able to get different experiences, I think is really cool. And I think about startups and regulatory affairs and the biomedical engineering degree overall is that they're very interdisciplinary. Like you learn a little bit of everything. And I feel like that was true for at least a startup that I worked at. There wasn't like one specific task that had to be done. There was a lot of different tasks. And I obviously was still a student or like a recent graduate, so I wasn't like super experienced in a lot of things, but I got to learn a lot about different areas, not just one thing. Like one day I would be doing like actual testing of the device, and then the day I would be in a meeting with like the clinical advisory board with like surgeons. Then another day I would be writing our 510K, submission. And then a lot of times it would be more like documentation, like taking care of like DHF deliverables or like quality documents and things like that. Another day I would spend the whole day like packaging devices, manufacturing the actual devices, um, working with the software, trying to, um, find like, what's it called? Trying to improve like algorithms. I never wrote any actual code, but I would like test like new software versions and things like that, and see how it performed. Um, so I did a lot or a little bit of a lot of things, and I think that was really cool because through that I was able to find that I really liked the regulatory affairs field, and that's how I was introduced to it. And I think if I had had internship somewhere else where my job was just a list of responsibilities, I wouldn't have had the opportunity um, to experience so much and then find something that I really liked. So I think that's a pro of working in a startup. But Daryl, you actually bring up a great point, which is I've also been thinking of putting a video together on why you should work at a startup or not. So if you guys would be interested in a video dedicated to the pros and cons of working at a startup company, let me know, because I think there's a lot of them. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, Ernestina said, "Thank you. I will reach out soon." Okay, awesome. I'll be looking forward to getting your email. Okay, we have another question that says, "If I study BME, can I work as a prosthetic specialist? Obviously, after taking the courses." Um, I'm not sure. I mean, I've never heard of someone doing that. But I know if you want to specialize in prosthetics, I know there's a master's for that, like prosthetics or orthodontics. I forgot the name. But you may want to do something more specific to prosthetics if that's what you want to do, or if you do want like the general knowledge of a BME, you could do that, but make sure to like join clubs or labs that expose you to prosthetics. Because I personally don't know anything about prosthetics. I think prosthetics is one of the first things that you think of when you think of BME, but we actually rarely see anything related to it. So yeah, a little bit of a bummer for people wanting to go to prosthetics, but you can definitely do it. I mean, other engineers go into prosthetics too, like electrical engineers, mechanical, and things like that. So it's a team effort. Um, okay, let's see. Uh, um, Sorry, I'm just reading. There's just like some bad comments here, so I'm just making sure I delete them. Okay. Hello, I desire an online training on how to repair and maintain medical equipment. Please advise. I actually don't know about that. I'm sorry. I'll have to um, do some research, but I'm sure if you look it up, you'll find something. But off the top of my head, I don't really know any. Daryl said, if I have a general biology degree, will I be able to transition to BME? Do you mean like before you graduate, or like get a master's in BME, or just work as a BME? Because if you mean work as BME, probably not. I mean, BME is not really a position. That's the first thing. Like, it's a degree. I mean, there are some companies that do have like biomedical engineer positions, but most companies don't. Like, most companies, you'll be specific kinds of engineers. So, but if you have like if you've taken some biology courses and you want to switch your major to biomedical engineering, I think you can definitely do that. If you have an undergrad degree in biology and you're thinking of getting a master's in BME, you can definitely do that. I think, because I think to get a master's in BME, you need either an engineering or science related bachelor's degree. So I think biology definitely applies. Natalia Palacio said, is BME different in each country? Yes. I mean, I think so. I've seen that. I am originally from Mexico, so I have, some network in Mexico, and from the people that I've talked to in Mexico, yes, it's very different over there. It seems like most people go into like hospital equipment, like maintenance and repair, which is nothing of what we see over here. But I do think that the Mexican BME degree offers more classes in like heavy engineering, like electrical engineering and like software related things, um like bioinstrumentation, I think is really big in Mexico. So I would expect other countries to also be different. So yes. So Josue Quiroga said, I would like to know how much medicine in general is studied in BME. So you don't really study medicine itself, you study biology and anatomy and physiology, which I think are classes that medical students would take. But it's mostly biology. Like, you don't get into pharma. Um, and maybe I'm understanding the question wrong. But just to give you an overview of the class that I took, they were classes like general biology, chemistry, physics, um, cellular biology, cellular engineering, biocompatibility, biotransport phenomena, product development, um, biomaterials, biomechanics, bioinstrumentation, imaging, things like that. So you do see a lot of like biology and like anatomy applied. Like for example, like a mechanical engineer in their statics and dynamics class, you would see like measure the force or like the flow rate of water through the pipes, if the pressure and the volume and the temperature, those questions, you see them in BME, but you see them applied in the body. It's like measure the volumetric flow rate of um, the lungs or the arteries. If the artery is like, I don't know, 2-3 millimeters in diameter, and it goes from this, like um, you still use the same concepts, but applied in medicine, which is why it's called biomedical engineering. So, yes, I hope that helps. Let's see. Okay. Abel Aguirre said, okay, I made it. My main question, what's the job outlook on being a biomedical engineer? Was it hard or easy? Did your school have resources for this? Honestly, they might have probably had resources because I feel like most schools do, but I personally wasn't too good at taking advantage of the resources offered at school. Um, but I guess they did, like they would share if there was any internships or job opportunities. But I never personally went to like the career center or anything like that. But the job outlook topic is a very controversial topic in the BME field. And I've heard a lot of people say, like, BME, like, don't do BME because you won't find a job. Like, there's very limited jobs, blah, 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 all those things. And I'm talking about the US market, by the way, because, like I said, it can be different in other countries, and I'm not too familiar with them. But at least in the US, I can tell you that I graduated in the middle of a pandemic with internship and research experience. And once I graduated, I was able to get a part-time job with a startup. And it was part-time because they didn't have the funding to hire me full-time. But eventually, so I graduated in May, and then by November, I started a second part-time job with the company I currently work with. And they offered me a full-time job, and I started working with them full-time in February. So, that was how it went for me. And I can tell you that all the other people in my class are either, like, the people who graduated with me are either in graduate school doing their PhD or master's, or working um, in either a medical device company or like a research institute. Yeah, so there are jobs out there. You can find them more easily if you did your work during undergrad, because you have to put in the work during your undergrad degree, because then people are getting ahead of you. Like, obviously, if some students are doing internships and others are not, then you graduate and those students are competing against you. So you want to make sure that you're gonna have what it takes to be chosen. So definitely do get experience during your undergrad. If you're not able to do an internship, get any sort of experience, like joining clubs. Like, I know my school had a club where they develop like medical device projects. I forgot exactly what they did. I never personally joined, but I think that club was really good to get experience. Also, just like joining like national societies is good, because especially if you hold like leadership positions and things like that, I think that can be good. But the most important thing is getting internships if you can. Um, and the second like equivalent important thing is networking, because it's all about who you know, and you never know who could find you your next job. So make sure to network, go to events. um, I personally found my second job, or my current job, by networking through LinkedIn. So I would definitely recommend it. When I first started using LinkedIn, I would just like randomly connect with people and like never talk to them. But when I started doing like connecting with people more purposefully, I'm not sure that's the right word, but with a purpose, like I would connect with people, message them, and be like, hey, I'm interested in learning, looking for a job. Do you have one? And yeah, I mean, knock on the doors and some may be open, so you never know. Definitely network. But overall, I mean, I think as years go by, we'll need more and more BMEs. I don't see this field going away, because it just can't, like technology, it's advancing a lot with it, medical technology. So I think it's a good career, but obviously everyone has a different opinion. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Okay, let's see. Um, hey, we have Dr. Scully. Thank you for joining the live. Okay, I'm just reading the questions. Okay, is a master's or PhD in regulatory affairs worth it? I actually don't know the answer to that. I would say that experience is better, like real world experience. I don't think a master's or a PhD is needed. But for example, let's say you did BME as your bachelor's degree and then you want to get into regulatory affairs, so then you get a master's. I definitely think it would help you land a job in regulatory affairs. But if you can just get that experience through working a job, then that's better. But if you can't, a master's is fine. Like, I don't know. I think you like real world experience is always going to be better, in my opinion. But I understand that sometimes, you don't want to be just like on pause for a job, and you'd rather just get some schoolwork done. So I definitely recommend. I think in getting a master's or PhD would be good if you want to learn more about it, but can't really find a job right now. I think that's a good idea. But I guess I do want to mention that how I found my job in regulatory affairs is that I saw this video from a YouTuber called 101 Mentor, and he said like he's a regulatory affairs person, but in like the food industry. And he said that consultants are usually like consultants that work on their own are like loaded with work, so they usually need a lot of help. Um, so I knew that I heard that in the video, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna reach out to consultants and see if any of them need help. And the place where I work actually has like a YouTube channel, so I was able to see some of their employees like interacting on camera. And so they were my first choice, like the first people I found, and I reached out to them and they gave me a job. So yeah, it worked out. So if you're interested in regulatory affairs, I would recommend to reaching out to more than anything like individual consultants who work on their own. Maybe you could kind of like intern with them, like part-time, get some experience if that's what you're interested in. So yeah. Okay. Okay. Hi, so can I email to ask about the jobs available for BME graduates and other questions I have? Yes, you can all email me anytime. I don't always reply to my emails, especially when it's people looking for jobs because, I wish I just had a book with like job opportunities, but I don't. So it's really hard for me when like people email me or message me and like, hey, I'm looking for a job, find me one. It's like, it's hard because yeah, I wish I knew of all the jobs in the world, but yeah, I mean, feel free to email me. I would love to create like well, I mean, we have a Facebook group where I kind of would want it to be kind of like for this, like, be like, hey, I'm looking for a job. And like, if anyone knows of anything, they can put it in there. But there's also LinkedIn groups that can be helpful with that. So yeah, I know there's a LinkedIn group called, and I'm gonna put it in the chat. It's like medical device group.net, I think, something like that. And I know I've seen a lot of people put like, hey, there's this job opportunity and things like that. So, look for groups. There's always places to look for jobs. So we got, it's a little bit more difficult to find biomedical engineering courses in the UK. Do you think it'll work if I did mechatronics as a degree and maybe a master's in biomedical? Yeah, I think that would definitely help. I'm just trying to think. Yeah, honestly, if like you want to learn more like the mechanical, you definitely have a better foundation of like the engineering. So a lot of people do that, and I think that would work for you. If you're interested in electrical, you could also do that. But either or is fine. Honestly, I think mechatronics or maybe more like mechanical engineering. If you could find like a school that has a degree in mechanical engineering, but maybe the mechanical engineering degree has like a concentration in biomechanics, I think that would be even more helpful. But just doing like the general mechanical would be fine. If your school has research labs, and you want to learn more about the biomedical applications, I would definitely, try to just get experience so if you like that field. Because yeah, I think you can definitely go into mechanical, and like I said, like some research labs, even though they're mechanical engineering labs, they'll still do like medical research. So yeah, you can definitely do that. Okay, so Dr. Scully said, regulatory affairs is quite broad. What about QC or QA or compliance, lead investigator, etc.? Plenty of quality positions out there. Something I'm wondering is a hierarchy. How's your department structured? Yeah, I think you're right. Like the regulatory affairs is pretty broad. And maybe I should have specified more. Like, I guess the company where I work is a consulting firm, and it's specifically for like regulatory submissions. But we do a lot of like quality assurance work too. But I personally, I'm just a beginner in all this. Mostly do like consulting and regulatory submissions. So my company is completely remote. It's pretty small. Like I forgot how many employees there are, but um, it's like around 10, like maybe like 12. But so there's like our president, who I think that's literally his title, like president, regulatory consultant. And then we have what we call 3 project managers who are like, I guess you could call them like the senior regulatory people, who have like 5 years of experience and like submissions of regulatory submissions for the FDA. We mainly do FDA, but I know other people in the company do like CE marks or submissions for other parts of the world. Um, so it's those 3 like main project managers, regulatory consultants, and then it's us, or like where I am is like associate regulatory consultant, because I'm barely starting, so I'm at an associate level, and I work under one of the project managers, and then one of the other project managers also has someone else under them, and then there's an intern that I think works with my project manager or the president. I'm not sure. But that's kind of like the hierarchy. There's like the president, project managers, and then like the associate consultants. But sorry, I keep pulling my shirt back. But yes, that's a hierarchy as of right now. As I said, it's a very small company, so I'm sure it's bigger in like other places. Um, but like my project manager, like she does regulatory consulting, but she also do like quality assurance, like QMS, things like that. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. But yes, regulatory affairs is definitely very broad, but I think as a consultant, like you try to look at everything and help them. Like if I worked at a company, like a bigger company, like that's a medical device company, but they have like the regulatory affairs department, then it would be different maybe. But because my company's a consulting firm, like medical device startups contract out to us. Like I'm guessing that's a little bit different, but so far I really like it, because, like I mentioned earlier, I get to work with different medical device companies. I get to learn a little bit about everything: electrical safety, biocompatibility, software, blah blah blah, all those things. I think that's what I like. That's what I liked about the biomedical engineering degree. So I personally enjoy it. Okay. Someone said, "Hey, you skipped mine." But I don't see your question anywhere. Hush on the beat. I did not see any question before. Hey, you skipped mine, but I did skip a few that I don't have an answer to. So I'm sorry about that. Prince Williams said, "Hey, it's BME good if I'm good with CAD and 3D printing, but want to be in the medical field." Yes, I think that's good. If you're good with CAD, I think you could definitely be more like of a designer or design engineer, like work in product development, like design, like helping design new products and things like that. It's definitely not a skill that's very common for BMEs, so I think it would definitely be a strength for you to have that. So yes, you could definitely um, succeed with that. So you have, I know it might be a little bit far from your knowledge, but what can I study to be a prosthetist other than medicine? Like I mentioned before, I believe there's a master's in prosthetics or something. It's because let me search for it. It's called like prosthetics and orthotics. I don't think every school has it, but I've heard it from one person before. Like I think she was a mechanical engineer and she was really interested in prosthetics. And she said she wanted to do a master's in prosthetics and orthotics. So that's something that you may want to research. I just looked up like prosthetics and orthotics master's programs. So yeah, you should definitely. I got several results, so you can definitely look into it if you're interested in that. That's an option. Okay. For anyone looking for a job, I would say email me just so we can talk, privately, and we can talk about your experience and things like that. But yeah, I just don't want people to feel like I'm skipping them. But I feel like those are things that we should talk about privately. So I can't guarantee finding anyone a job like at all, but I can help in whichever way I can. So feel free to email me. Um, so Carr said maybe courses on biomechanics and neuromechanics would be helpful for prosthetics. Yes, I agree. Like I think electrical engineering knowledge would also be good for the advanced prosthetics that we have now. I personally know of an electrical engineering student who started like his own prosthetic company or startup. So yes. My email, I put it up in the chat, but I'm gonna put it again. It's MERI at the BME Live. BME Live. Oh, sorry. Getting a call and my computer got messed up. BMELive.com. Sorry. Yes, you can email me. I know internships for high school students are rare, but there's definitely out there. But I do want to share, and this is probably the last question that I'll be touching on. Sorry, but join next live. But I just wanted to say, like, regarding internships for high school students, one time I went to this event in my city that um, it was like a networking event, but I met a few high school students who had been working in a research lab during the summer. So I know that like medical schools usually have programs like research programs for high school students. So I would definitely recommend that, looking into that, because I certainly know that that's something schools do. Going to a school to do research with them would be a great start. Um, the only other high school student that I know who has done an internship at an actual company is someone whose mom was like a quality person at a pharmaceutical company. So that's how she was able to get that. Um, so I don't know if like you typically like industry has internship experiences for high school students. But I think when it comes to research, there's definitely opportunities. I know NASA does internships for high school students, so there's probably other opportunities out there, but you just have to look for them. But if your high school has like a career center, or just talk to your professors, maybe they'll know someone um, who has a company, or is a professor at a university or something like that. So always reach out to your network. Just because you're in high school doesn't mean you don't have a network. You certainly do. So feel free to explore any options. So anyway, I wanted to do this a 15-minute live, but it turned out to be 15 minutes. But I think that's really good. I'm glad you guys asked all those questions. They were all really, really good questions. So I appreciate you all joining the chat and just asking your questions. And special thanks to Dr. Scully because he also has a YouTube channel. And if I believe you did your degree in biomedical science, and he has a PhD. So if any of you guys are interested in learning more about that, like definitely check him out as I can. So anyway, hope you all have a nice rest of your. Sorry, I kept getting calls. Hope you all have a great rest of your Tuesday. Okay, thank you. Bye.